Welcome, everybody. This is Kellie Scott Reed from the Raw Fun Y'all Press with a word with Kellie Scott Reed. It's a lot more than a word, but we're here with the incredible writer, Matthew McGuirk. Matthew, hi, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, guys, for having me on. I'm really excited about this. So for your audience, I'm Matt McGuirk. If you don't, follow me, feel free to on Twitter or whatever. I'll chat with you and all that stuff. I'm from New Hampshire. I still live there. I teach high school English, mainly like 10th and 12th graders. So kind of like the English background there. I've always liked creative writing and kind of just jumped back, I guess, like feet first into it in November of 2020, after like a long stint without touching it, I guess, for a while. So that's
incredible. So were you writing a lot before that? Because honestly, your writing seems like you've literally always been writing. I would never know you took a break.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've always liked writing, and part of my first answer to one of your questions, I'm sure we'll touch on that too. But I've always liked writing, middle school, high school, in college, I thought about jumping in with a, creative writing major. And then I kind of pushed that aside and was like, all right, I'll minor in it. And then that kind of fell to the side too. But I took like 2 classes there in creative writing. And then, life sort of happened. And it just sort of went off to the wayside for about 5 years. I didn't really write much at all. And then I don't know what it was, whether if it was the pandemic and whatever, or if it was like, my wife and I and our daughter moved quite a few times. And that may have been the movement piece may have just jarred something. And I don't know, I was like, I'm just going to do it. And she's like, I think your writing's good. You should start submitting it. So I started kind of throwing it out there and now we're here.
That's great. Yeah. Well, basically, what was an early experience where you learned that language had power?
Perfect. Yeah, I have a couple for this, and I sort of tried to pull a couple for all of your questions. The first one, words have always been kind of important in my family in general. My mom's a teacher. My grandfather was a guidance counselor. His wife, my grandmother, was a teacher as well. She passed, before I really knew her. But so we were always kind of surrounded by books at an early age and all of that. So I think that's an aspect of it. Another one that I kind of found pretty interesting, in middle school, I got really into the creative writing piece. And I think that's like where it all started, really. A friend and I kind of had, it wasn't like a writing competition, but we'd each be like writing our little novels in our spiral bound notebooks and stuff. And people started like wanting to see them. So they would ask to read this chapter, that chapter, or whatever. And I guess that like attention in a sense, showed like the power of language. Like, maybe I was like a pretty shy kid, for the most part, but they wanted to read what I was saying, which was cool. So I think that's an instance of that. And then I really liked Katie's answer. I don't even remember if I commented on her interview at all, with the Orwell piece, but I teach Animal Farm to 10th graders. And it's just like such a powerful book, for any 10th grader. It's like, oh, I haven't read a book since 5th grade, and I'm like, well, after you read Animal Farm, you won't want to be the animals that don't know how to read in this book. So I think those are just kind of a couple things, I think, where it shows the power of language kind of throughout my life, I guess.
It is funny you mentioned those books because my son, my youngest son is in college getting his degree in English and education. So he wants to teach high school English. So very similar. But I remember when he came home with that book and how he couldn't put it down. That and, oh gosh, what's the other one? My mind's drawing a blank, but there is something about that book in that general genre that kind of awakens something in that particular age. And I always find that super interesting. Orwell, really in 1984, I kind of can't remember the name. Brave New World? Is that what I'm thinking?
That's another one.
Yeah. That's what he kind of loved. So.
And then maybe like a little earlier, like a middle school-ish one, like Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451 would be another one that, stands out to a lot of people, especially with like the mean, you mentioned it in her interview too, like the banning of books and stuff, it kind of fits right in with that. Except that was burning of books, I guess. But
it's also funny you say that power of language. I think it's today. Yeah, Judy Blume's birthday is today. And I know for girls, Judy Blume was banned. Are You There, God? Is Me, Margaret? It's Me, Margaret was not allowed in a lot of schools, and it was banned. And that is something that spoke to God, spoke to the female experience of change, sexuality, relationships. And it was something we all long for. And maybe those books like Orwell and stuff, we long for what that subject matter is. We just don't know that we don't know yet. So it's so interesting. All right. I love these answers. Thank you, Matt.
no problem.
What is your writing kryptonite?
This was funny because I think this was, when I was thinking about the other night, this was the most difficult one for me in a sense, because I took such a long break that it's just been like I don't know, I've jumped back into it and it's just been like go sort of thing, which is cool. But I definitely thought of a couple things, and my wife jokingly made the same joke I was going to make, which is like, when I fall asleep at night, that's like my kryptonite, I guess, because that's when I do all of my writing is pretty much like, after everybody else is sleeping. So they fall asleep at like 8 o'clock or whatever. And then, I'll come out here and, hit the keyboard for a while. Yeah, so that's one of them. That's sort of like the joking one, I guess. I guess like more serious, like, writing one would be like when I'm trying to kind of put myself in a corner, like if I need, say I need to write this one or something, or I need to write this genre or something. I guess it just needs to come organically, the other day I was trying to write something longer, and whenever I try to force myself into like a corner, like, lengthwise or style wise or whatever, it doesn't tend to work as well for me. So, recently, well, my wife and I had our second child recently, so that was cool. But I find myself gravitating towards much shorter pieces. So anything over 1,500 words right now for me is like pretty much impossible. Where if you talked to me in November of 2020, it would have been like, I'm going to write a novel. That's what I'm going to write,
Well, congratulations. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, very cool. So you have how many now? Two?
Two, yeah. One's like 2.5, well, almost 3 now, I guess. And then the other one is 12 weeks now. So it's been busy.
I have three children, and we have Rob and I, my husband and I, learned something. Don't let yourself get outnumbered. So two. So stick with two. I'm kidding, because we're outnumbered right now.
I'll let my wife know that advice.
Don't get outnumbered.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you didn't write, how would you express yourself creatively?
This is another interesting question, and I didn't even write down. I gave myself notes, but I haven't even looked at them really. Talking with you guys and just kind of shooting from the hip, I guess. But I mean, so there are several things I've done that I feel like are pretty creative that I might have jumped back into, if I wasn't writing, or might jump kind of more wholeheartedly into. Like my wife and I both like gardening and like landscaping and stuff like that. So I feel like that's a pretty creative endeavor, although there's kind of more science to it, I guess. But so that would be one. With our previous house, we did like home renovations and stuff, and that's kind of fun. And that kind of not really sparked that poem that you gets accepted first there, but that one in a sense had home renovations of a sort. And then what else did I have? I've always liked like cooking and stuff too. So I don't know, maybe I'd become like one of those like hardcore like barbecue guys or something. I don't know. If I wasn't writing, I'm not sure. But I worked at like a ton of different restaurants and stuff too.
Okay.
So I feel like that's pretty cool, like side jobs sort of stuff. I don't know. So I'd probably fall back on that sort of stuff, I guess, as far as creativity goes. I've never been great with like painting or drawing or anything like that. Although I did take like an art class in college, but it was definitely really difficult for me.
So it's funny because you post these on your Twitter, these really lovely vignettes and poems and things you do, and there is a nature theme to them for me. And of course, I absolutely love nature. Do you have a poet that you like? Like, sometimes people look at Robert Frost as someone, he's the kind of go-to for something that has to do with nature and more pastoral poems. Do you have a writer that you look to that you admire?
I mean, he's definitely one I gravitate towards just because of like, the New Hampshire roots. I think he was originally from California, but like the New Hampshire roots and stuff like that. And in a sense, like quite a bit of his imagery is like kind of similar to mine in a sense. Like I think he even had like a poem called The Woodstack, and I just had one published with you guys called The Woodstack.
Yeah, I love that one.
Quite different, but
that's what's reminding me of Frost. That's why I was kind of mentioning him, because when I read that, I love that. We live in a wintry place.
Yeah.
And so it really felt it landed. So yeah, I really love that.
Cool. I mean, there are definitely others, like in the 10th grade curriculum, we teach like Robert Hayden, and he has like this poem, Those Winter Sundays, which has like a lot of like the same similar imagery in a sense. It has sort of like a racial undertone, but that one actually mentions cracked hands, which is interesting because I published that other one with you guys that had the cracked hands in it too. It's just kind of similar but different. Yeah, I don't know. But I definitely think, Robert Frost for me is like the standby. And then, let's see, I'm spacing right now, but there are a bunch of other ones. Like I really like Billy Collins. I've read several of his books, but he doesn't do as much with nature really, but I really like his poetry as well. And then we have some great like, local poets as well. Like, I pulled Alice Fogel, who was the poet laureate for New Hampshire for several years, into my classroom one year, and she kind of did this little poetry workshop with the students. It was really cool. So I really respect her too as a poet, and she lives like super locally, like where I grew up and stuff. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. All right, so final plans question. What is the most difficult part of your writing process?
Yeah, I think with me, especially maybe more so since I jumped back into it in November of 2020, it's just been like kind of centering myself on, one specific project. I guess like the ironic thing, I don't even have my book next to me. The ironic thing is like the book that I put out, if you had asked me in November of 2020, what the book I was going to put out would be like or whatever, it would not have been the one, that I published there, which is interesting because I really like the book. And then even like, let's say, when we got to, I don't know, even, like June or something of last year, like I had like 3 or 4 different projects going, and I was like, all right, this one's probably going to come out first if I sent it out and stuff like that when I started putting stuff together. And it was funny because the project that ended up getting published first was the one that sort of took the lead. And it was cool how it came together, and it was like not even on my radar at all. But I think to me, I think it's like the best thing I've done, truthfully, which is good.
That is awesome.
I don't know. Wait, did I even answer your question? No, not really.
No, but it seemed to me, just so I'm getting you here, it seemed to me that like sometimes the things that you don't expect to be the thing, almost like, I don't want to say a misfiring. It's not a misfire. It's here's this, but that's not quite what I was thinking, but it becomes the thing. It kind of metamorphoses into what it should be, even though you're not. Did I make any sense? Sometimes I don't think I make any sense, but go right ahead.
No, I think that makes sense. I had it like typed out. I haven't looked back at it, but what I said is, I guess I'm in a sense like scattered in a good way. Like I have like so many projects going right now, and it's just like, just focus on one, Matt, and then you can finish that one up and then do the next one. But it just doesn't work like that, for me, really. It's just sort of, I dip into a story for this collection. All right, cool, that's good. And then, I've got this one going over here. All right, well, put something in that one, So I guess it's just kind of split attention in a bunch of different directions, which I guess could be a good or bad thing. With with attention to detail and that sort of stuff, and maybe not getting bored with one project. I don't
Right.
really have like a novel per se going right now, but I have, like 3 or 4, probably like 4 different collections I'm working on at the moment. So it's sort of like busy,
Yeah.
but in a good way.
Yeah, that's good. We're that way. The press is that way. We are doing 20 different things at the same time. We each take our own little piece. I think you can get a lot done. It's how I live my life the way you're describing it. Like, oh, I'm doing this over here and this over here. And then this kind of thing happens where then, oh, now I've got all these pipelines and there's an opportunity here or here. And I think that that's kind of a good thing. I don't have a ton of attention to detail, says one of the editors. I'm more about the feeling of the piece a lot of time. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Now, this is like the random question. Tell us something in your life that makes you feel free.
Okay, something in my life that makes me feel free. I think, well, I guess I have two. One would be like, I guess like the family oriented one, when we don't have anything like planned on a weekend and we can just kind of do kind of whatever organically happens. So that's like a freeing feeling where we don't have, we both come from families that have had divorces. So it's like you're always kind of torn in like all these different directions, especially with, people wanting to see the grandkids and all that sort of stuff. And we like seeing everybody, but it's just like kind of nice when you don't have something scheduled at all. Periodically, it's nice to see everybody too. But so that would be one. And then, just when the other one is for me, I like actually being able to sit down and write, like, having time where there's not really like an obligation minus to whatever sort of jumps into my head. And it's kind of like everybody else is sleeping. Okay, everybody's taken care of. That's good. And then I can kind of just see what comes out. And it's sort of like dropping, in a sense, dropping the responsibility. Not that I'd want to, but, that's another one. And the other time I find my mind wandering, just to throw a third one out there, I feel like I'm all over the place, but I have like sort of a long commute in the afternoon to pick up my daughters. And that's sort of, for me, another time to like think and sort of like process the day. And that's actually where like a lot of my ideas for stories and stuff come to me, or poems or whatever. So I think that's like another kind of decompressing or whatever, okay, it was a hard day at school, or okay, it was an easy day at school. All right, then just kind of let, distracted driving in a good way, I guess.
Awesome. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to plug some of what you have going on for a few moments, if you would.
Cool. I don't know if you guys have an edit button. If I could just run and grab my book quickly.
Sure.
I'm so
I will
sorry.
stop the recording.
1 second.
Nope, go.
Yeah, I have a couple things to plug, or a couple things to talk about at least. I would say definitely the first, if people haven't checked it out, my collection. Oops, put it in the.
I see it.
There you go. Daydreams, Obsessions, Realities, from Alien Buddha, that came out in late November. It's a combination of fiction and poetry. So, if people like my writing, I think it'd be a great place to see kind of like a collected works, or like 20 pieces in there. So that would be one. And if people have read it, I'd love to hear what people think. I always like to chat with people on Twitter or whatever. A couple other things. I'm in this cool, or doing this cool project with a musician, Brotherwell, Ryan Bozeman, and he's doing this cool kind of collected project recovery with like 13 or 14 different poets. And he's creating songs based off of poems, which is cool. I don't know if anybody's seen, I dropped a link to the song that he created off one of my poems, which was really fun. So I think he'll be trying to put out like, I think he's looking for like a, what do you call it? Like a label, or a way to kind of like collectively like put them out, whether it's like a CD or a vinyl or whatever. So I think that would be cool to see that happen. But definitely, if you want to check that out, it's cool. It's like a different sort of approach to my writing, and he kind of synthesized his lyrics with my original poem. It was like a fun experience, I thought.
Yeah, that
so
sounds really cool.
that would be another one. And then definitely, if people don't follow me, I'm most active on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. Facebook, I don't have a ton of writer friends on there, but yeah, definitely Twitter at McGuirk, which is McGuirk, and then Matthew with 2 T's. I'm pretty active on there, so if people want to connect with me or want to talk about writing or whatever, that'd be a great location. And then my website and stuff's on there as well.
Awesome. Well, I so appreciate you being with us today. This was really fun. Thank you.
Thanks so much. It's been a great time. I think it really is. It's really fun, and I feel like every time I do one of these Zoom things, it makes me more comfortable. I do one like a writing group with a couple other writers, and we do like a generative workshop sort of thing. And I've done a couple other readings and stuff, but every time I do it, it seems more comfortable because it's definitely a different animal than like the remote teaching or whatever,
It is. It is. And I really appreciate you taking the time and for being so patient with my schedule. But thank you so much. And we will be checking out those songs. I write songs with my husband who has his own band. So I'm all about that. So I have to look. I'm terrible with social media. I hate computers. I hate being in front of screens in any way.
Yeah.
So I have to force myself onto Twitter, but I will definitely look at that. That's great. That's
Cool,
exciting.
yeah. It was
Thank
really
you so
fun,
much.
and definitely give give Ryan a follow and some of the other poets that were involved too. I think I follow most of them on Twitter, but he has a channel on YouTube and stuff too, and he has like all the different songs, and it's cool because there's a lot of variety there too.
Very cool.
But
Very cool.
yeah, very interesting.
All right, sir. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
You
We'll see you
too.
soon.
Thanks
We'll
so
talk
much.
soon.
Perfect.
See
That
ya.
sounds
Bye,
great.
Matt. Thank
See you
you.
later.